Alright everybody, so I'm out here on the Sac River. I've been coming out the last few weeks trying to get into some stripers. The water's really low and clear. I don't know, it's just been kind of slow for me. A couple of my buddies have been catching big ones, but today I'm going to throw some big baits again. I've been messing with this bait. This is a Gancraft 303 knockoff, and I bought it just to see if it was worth having. It would be great if it didn't leak all the time. So it started out to where it would crack just casting it. So I sealed it up, chopped the joint down because you weren't able to burn it at all. This happens to be a fast sink, and I drilled a bunch of the weight out to get it to sink the way I want. Ultimately, I epoxied it to get the hardness up because it's just a hollow body ABS bait. Right now it swims all right. It's still leaky though. It fills up with water by the end of the day, just from the joints and everything. You know, I like the look of the bait. To me, it looks just like a hardhead or a pike minnow. I painted this. When I got it, it showed up just clear because it's just a blank. This represents the forage that stripers eat to me the most, though. Most like throughout the whole year, whether it's a pike minnow, a hardhead, a grass carp, any bait fish that are out here, because they're not eating salmon all year, only when the smolts are in the water. They're not eating like the baby steelhead until they get planted. They're living on this most of the year. So I picked this up, and it's a 12-inch bait. It's the Gancraft 303. I also picked up the ABT Suicide Glide 12-inch, which is another 10-ounce bait. 12 inches. It has 3 hook hangers. This is a solid resin bait. It's a quality bait. I just don't like how it swims or the sink rate. So it only comes in the one option, and I've been trying to get it to sink the way I want. I've messed with the joint a bunch, just opening it up to get it to stabilize, because the main problem out here on the river, it wants to blow out in the current really bad. The only time that I can get it to swim good at all is just a really slow retrieve, which is fine if you don't have current to deal with. But out here, there's 4-mile-an-hour current everywhere, and you got to be able to fish it at all speeds. I like the 3 hook hangers. I think that's good, especially if you want to go down to a 1/0 hook or something. But the way I've been fishing it is just with 2 2/0 trebles, 4X trebles. It's almost good now. I just wish it would sink better. I think that their mixture for the resin is the biggest issue. I don't think it's buoyant enough to where you can get a good keel weight on it to get it to stabilize in the water on the retrieve. But other than that, it's a pretty good bait. Like, it'll hold up well. I haven't got bit on it. I've just been testing it for a long time, months. But I know in certain conditions, like real shallow water with no current, it'll get bit out here. So I'm gonna throw this a bunch today just to see. I've got some key areas that I want to fish it. Like I said, shallower water around structure without so much current. The other thing that's going on out here is all this duckweed starting to come off and float down the river, and it's been collecting on my line and down on my bait and everything, and gets sucked up in the jet pump when you're idling around and everything. But that's just part of the river. I've only got 2 or 3 hours to fish today, which isn't a lot of time to be fishing out here on the river. You could spend an hour in each hole. If I'm having a hard time with this 12-inch ABT Suicide Glide, I will put on my 10-inch Homicide Glide, because that is just a phenomenal bait. It swims really well. The only issues with that are the hook designs, like the hook pockets. And it's just a really good size, and it swims so well, and it has the right sink rate. Just those pockets don't work great with stripers. I just lose fish on it all the time. I can't set the hook well enough to get a hook into the mouth to where they come out of the pockets. So lately I've been running it with the hooks dangling, and you get some you get a hook around the line where the front hook is usually. So if they just made that a 2-hook bait, it'd be great. I'm gonna get fishing. I'm already low on time. Gancraft 303. I found this one on eBay that was cheap. This happens to be a slow float, so they make them floating, slow float, sinking, and then fast sink. So my old one, the knockoff, was a fast sink. So I'm going to see the difference between the knockoff and this one. Here's the bait. It's really beautiful. I mean, the paint on here is awesome. This tail is super detailed, and I can just tell it's good rubber. Just off of just at first glance here, this hinge is a lot different. The knockoff has 3 pins in the hinge. This one only has 2. I don't know if you can see down in there. The body, they're pretty similar. I'm just looking at the overall. I'm just looking for any differences. So the scale hashing here, you know, the cross hatching is different. This is angled like a herringbone, and this has no angle to it. This is the how the blanks come. They're clear. I split this one up and casted it for molds because I have an idea of casting it out of resin, making it exactly how you want. You can see how it's weighted. So since it's ABS, it's a hollow body, which means it's super buoyant, and this is how they weight it for ballast. It's all in the keel. Same with here, and that gives it stability, because the body is hollow and wants to float up, but the weight wants to sink it down, and that keeps the body upright as it swims. So I think that's what the problem was with that ABT Suicide Glide. I messed with that so much, and I tried to get it to swim the way I wanted, and I wound up casting it off that day, and I'm not happy I lost it, but honestly it's almost like good riddance. I don't have to mess with that thing anymore. It's a great looking bait. It's a high quality, like the craftsmanship's high quality, but it's just not right. And down to the resin, the actual resin not being buoyant enough to get enough good keel weight in there, so it wants to roll like this as you retrieve it and blow out. This one reminds me a lot of the Mega Dog Mega X, which is from Mega Bass. So they're very similar. They're very similar, and I like the color. So these are 2-aught 4X hooks. That's the 4-aught front hook. Now these hooks are not cheap. These are high quality hooks. They just seem to be more of a lighter wire than what I want for stripers. Now, when you're fishing largemouth, it's different. They do not pull as hard as a striper. So you have to take into account what you're fishing for. And also a 2-aught hook is plenty big for a striper. A lot of times, like on a 3-hook hanger bait, I'll go to a 1-aught, or if it's an 8-inch, I'll go to a 1-aught. Again, a 4X hook. Alright, so it does not sink. think I'm starting to get the hang of it. It's just there's no quick movements with this. It's not blowing out or anything. It's just if you rip it too hard, it doesn't glide, it goes straight. And that's because of how much angle's in the joint. Now I could probably cut that back. Not much though, not like the other one. So I'm just gonna keep fishing it. Try to get good with it. The sink rate's not a big deal, it's more like a suspender. Pretty much just suspends. And so when you cast it, like you bomb it, it goes down 2 or 3 feet, which is perfect, and kind of stays there. So I'm just gonna fish it around some of this wood. So this bait's really weird. It's finicky, it's twitchy, but it never has a ton of movement. In the beginning, I couldn't swim it at all. I was a little disappointed with the fact that it floated. I thought it would be more of a super duper slow sinking bait, but it does float. The more I fished it, the more I realized how it's really designed. So as it floats, it's nosed in the water. And upon casting it, it'll come back up with its back just out of the water and the tail fin out of the water. But it sits with the nose down. And as you reel it, it goes down in the water. And the quicker I reeled it, the deeper it went. So I think it went down about 4 feet if I was trying to burn it. You can burn it. It doesn't blow out. If anything, there's just a lack of action right off the bat. This joint has very little action compared to this one, which I modified because it was a cheap knockoff. So this one has a very tight swim. This one has either a really wide glide or no glide at all, depending on how good you are at working it. Oh, this is a great bait. I can't wait to fish it more. I know it's going to get bit. By the end of it, I got it to glide at a moderate retrieve. I got it to glide at a super slow retrieve. I got it to where I could burn it. I learned how to fish it in some of the various current we have out here, not the super fast stuff, but the more I fish it, the more I'm going to learn about it. So this is a great high quality bait that's very versatile, especially the slow floater. If I had gotten like a heavier sink, I don't think it would be as versatile as this slow float. If it was a full floater, like way out of the water and you couldn't get it down, that wouldn't be good for me. But the slow float is definitely a good one. So I gotta go get these dogs out of the water because it's cold. I don't know what they're doing out here. Anyway, I'll give you an update if I start catching fish.